Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story. Now today's first story comes from a deleted user on the True Off My Chest subreddit titled My Female 26 Husband Male 29 is obsessed with my boss Female 38. It's all my fault. I started this job about 1.5 years ago. I can't say what it is because I want us to stay anonymous and our country is very small, so my boss would probably be recognized. The moment I started, I felt like I was in the right place. My boss, the owner of the company, is very cool and kind. She's self-made and she loves her job. She does all of the dirty work herself that bosses who have 30 to 35 employees wouldn't have to do. But she just loves it. On top of that, we have a 6-hour workday. Our salaries are 20% higher than the market, and we have 7 paid vacation weeks a year. Her reasons? She appreciates us and she's getting richer anyway. I was so proud of working with a woman like her, so I wouldn't shut up talking about her to my husband, especially in the beginning. My husband was as fascinated by her as I am, until he met her in a company party last Christmas. She must have been beautiful when she was young. She could have been a model. I think his fascination became a crush or an obsession, or maybe worse, love. Now he follows her on social media. Her accounts are private, but he stalks her with my account. He also follows the company Instagram and likes every picture she's in. He asks about her all the time. She's a very private person, but when her divorce from her ex-husband was finalized in the beginning of this year, we all found out because he started showing up to work. He owned half her company now, and he started to try and make changes in our work hours and salaries. We found out that her husband had cheated on her with a younger girl, who he also tried to employ in our company. She still works with us. She, probably lawyers involved, eventually convinced her husband to sell her back his share. We're still in the process now. My husband has followed all this and he was so sad for her and so angry. How could anyone do this when they had a woman like her? If it was him, he would cherish her, love her, blah blah blah. Who leaves a woman for a girl? I got very angry and told him that all men prefer younger women if they could choose. He laughed at me and told me only losers do that. The last drop was last Friday. We were out for a movie night and we saw my boss with a young man. He looked in his mid-20s and my husband lost it. He didn't know that she dated younger men. He wanted us to go say hello, but I refused and yelled at him to control himself because he looked pathetic. When we got home, he was frantically going through our social media until he found the guy and he sighed in relief. The guy was her nephew. And we didn't see the whole company, but they were out with other family members. My husband was so happy, like a weight was lifted off his shoulders, and I lost it on him. I started crying and yelling and told him he was in love with her, and he was shocked when I pushed and kicked him out of our bedroom. I locked the door. He stood outside trying to calm me down, telling me he loved me and I'm his girl and always will be. Then he said something that ruined me even further. It's not like someone like her would look my way. I haven't even slept since. Why is he feeling like this? Is it love, infatuation? She's too old for my husband, so what is it? And why would he think he couldn't have her? He's very handsome and still young. She should feel lucky a young handsome man likes her. And does he mean I'm less than her to accept him? Or is it purely her money and status? He refuses to admit to anything. And what can I do now? I love this job. I love the benefits. Thanks to this job, our life has improved and we can afford more than just the necessities. I'm starting to hate my boss though. I hate myself for idolizing her in front of my husband. Edit. Sorry this is getting longer, but I've spoken to my mother, sister, granny and some friends about this. About what happened last Friday. And they think I'm making a big deal out of nothing. And in the comments, Pelarizado says, you know your husband is at fault here. Not you and not your boss. He's acting very inappropriately and things he said would make me feel very insecure as well. Put the blame where it lies, at his feet. For saying and doing the things he has to make you feel this way. I would say either attend therapy together or even separately or consider a break. You need time to evaluate the situation properly, and your family isn't being very supportive by dismissing your very valid feelings. I wouldn't be asking them for advice going forward. I get they are cheaper than a therapist, but they are clearly being biased. This is not your fault. Your husband is on the hook for this one. In quotes, it's not like someone like her would look my way. And goes on to say, it sounds like he's saying that if your boss gave him a chance and looked his way, he'd probably jump at it. I understand this is like the straw that broke the camel's back. You don't trust this as reassurance of anything other than your right to feel betrayed. And many other comments on this one saying, keep the job, dump the boyfriend. But OP continues in an update and says, "Hi, I'm in so much pain and I don't know what to do. I don't want to do something stupid while hurting. I got a lot of good advice last time I was here, so I don't know. Maybe you can help me with this time too." My old post is linked in my bio. Hope you read it before this one because I don't want to tell the whole story again. I went against my family and friends and asked my husband for separation. I felt like my heart couldn't take it anymore. My intuition told me that my husband wasn't all mine. This was shortly after the event at the movies. My husband was in total confusion. He said I was making a mistake, making a mountain out of a molehill, but he moved in with his brother, however. We decided to start couples counseling too. It went well the first 3 weeks or so, but my husband became more and more reluctant to participate, and sometimes he just cancelled on me last second. He stopped showing up this month, and he also stopped calling and texting me. I was even more heartbroken, but it just solidified that my intuition was right and that I was doing the right thing, seeing that he is not interested in working on us anymore. I chose not to quit my job. I still loved it with all the heartbreak and I really needed the benefits. Like, I'm the only one I know who is having a 3 weeks paid vacation around Christmas and New Year. I never see my boss anyway, and she doesn't even know of my existence. My husband eventually stopped being active on Instagram and I thought it was normal because we were going through adversities uni yesterday, which that means, when his brother shared my husband's stories of the night. My husband was in a restaurant holding a woman's hand. I could only see her hand. So my husband has just blocked me and my family and friends from seeing his updates. I commented, "What the fuck?" And this morning my husband called me for the first time in a month, totally scared, and started begging, "Please don't ruin this for me. Please don't ruin this for me." I told him, "What do you mean?" He said, "Don't tell her about us." I never made the connection at first. It never even crossed my mind that woman in the picture was my boss. I started crying and screaming at him. How could he do this to me? How could he tell me that it was all in my head when it's obviously all over your Instagram? He said it just happened. I dumped him and he was single and just happened to find her on Bumble. He begged me not to ruin this for him. She knows he's in the process of divorce and she doesn't know that he already knew who she was or that she was the boss of his soon-to-be ex. They've been seeing each other for about 6 weeks, about 2 weeks after I asked him to move, and it is getting serious. He begged for a good 5 minutes, telling me how he hasn't been this happy in all his life and that I shouldn't ruin his happiness since again, I was the one who ended our marriage. I've been crying since this morning. I don't know what to do. I want to ruin him and his happiness, but I don't know if I have any right to do that. I'm so worried about losing my job. Please help. Edit for new information. Okay, my husband has been calling me non-stop and I have now answered him. He's panicking about me telling her everything, so he begged me to give him a chance to tell her himself. His words were, "I never stalked her or creeped on her. I just fell for her and was scared that she would think I was creepy since you thought the same. Give me a chance to tell her the truth in my own space, so at least she doesn't think I'm a liar or a freak like you seem to think." He still swears that they matched on Bumble. I didn't know what that is until now, but it is like Tinder. I'm just devastated right now. He has no regards for me and my feelings. Everything he is thinking of is not to scare her away. When I told him this, he said I was the one who left him. People fall out of love and that's okay, and no one's fault. And that I was in the right end in the relationship, but I was the one who ended it all the same. Don't hurt us and I promise to give you everything you want. She's happy with me, so don't hurt us. Opie then comes in with one more update and says, "Hi, I talked to my boss yesterday, Monday, after lunch. I told her everything. Basically, how I was so happy I found this job, how I looked up to her and was proud to be working for someone like her, and that this rubbed off on my husband who grew more obsessed with her each day. I apologized for using obsessed because I didn't know how things were between them, but that is how I perceived his feelings. I told her about the day at the movies and how it basically made me realize that our issues were greater than I thought. I told her that I know and accept that my marriage is over and that my husband didn't love me anymore. That the reason I'm telling her now isn't to judge or blame her, but to let her know the whole story because it's just fair she knows that he has been following her life for over a year now. Because from what I understood from my husband, you were under the impression that you just matched with him on a dating app," I said. She was silent the whole time I was talking, just listening to me until I mentioned the dating app, and that's when she interrupted me. "That's not how we met. He's been a patron at my gym for the past 6 months, maybe a year," she said. I know her gym. It's the one across our workplace. She works out there every morning before coming to work. I didn't know he had joined it because I knew him to be a member at the gym near our home. He has been, without telling me, working out just across the street from me every morning without telling me. She looked like how I felt. Shocked. I apologized and told her that he has kept dating her a secret from me and that he begged me not to talk to her, telling me that he hasn't been this happy and so on. She didn't say much, just thanked me for telling her. Today, she asked if she could talk to me. She apologized for everything that happened to me and asked if I needed any help. I said no, and she thanked me again. When I got home, my husband was there. He called me at least 50 times, but my phone was on silent. He was crying, calling me bitter and vindictive and pathetic. He said I ruined his relationship and future. She is scared of him now, and it is all my fault. He wants me to tell her that he is not dangerous, nor is he a pervert. He wants me to tell her that I was the one who wanted a divorce and that people fall out and in love, and it is nobody's fault, and neither is it creepy. He hasn't done anything wrong. He stayed faithful to me and would have stayed that way if I didn't kick him out. He asked me if I ever felt unsafe with him to make rumors about him being a stalker and a creep. I should tell the truth. I asked him to leave and that I'm starting a divorce, and from now on he could only contact me once I got a lawyer through them. I have been crying since he left. We haven't seen each other for weeks and he had no feelings whatsoever for me. He looked demented and full of sorrow like a broken little boy. How could he change this fast? Before we separated, he held me and begged me to believe him and his love for me. Was it all a lie? My whole entire relationship? Good night and thank you for the support. This is a throwaway and I will be deleting it soon. I just thought I would update before doing that. Damn, when the boss said that's not how we met, I was like, oh no. And turns out he's been a part of her gym for 6 months just to try to get to know her. And he's saying that he's not a creep or anything like that. Holy shit. That's a scary story. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Titled, Am I the A-hole for refusing to honor my boyfriend's family's tradition? My boyfriend Eric, 29 male, fake name, and I, 27 female, have been dating for 3 years. For context, I have met his family and they are friendly. I don't meet them very often because they live in my boyfriend's home country. I don't want to reveal country names either for privacy reasons, but my boyfriend and I are of different nationalities. We both work in my country. The conflict happened during our last visit last weekend. We've been looking up houses to move in together and engagement rings. While we were having dinner, we mentioned to his family as it's a big step in our relationship for us. We are not engaged yet. His parents and brothers expressed their happiness for us. Then out of nowhere, his youngest sister-in-law asked, "So, is she going to take the test?" I asked, "What test?" In summary, boyfriend's family has this tradition where the future mother-in-law tests future daughter-in-laws to see if they are good enough for her sons. Apparently, his mother and aunt went through the same test. The tests include how clean they can keep a home, how well they can cook, their manners, etc. Basically life skills most people learn from childhood. I found it ridiculous because 1. If I'm good enough for my boyfriend, he should be the one deciding it, and 2. I don't fit their targeted category. In his mum's words, you can't be a good stay-at-home wife and stay-at-home mum if you can't be a good homemaker, and she wants to make sure of that. To be clear, his mum and all 3 of his brothers' wives are stay-at-home mums. And although I respect their choice, I'm not quitting my career and did not under any circumstances make my boyfriend think I could compromise on that. I hate house chores. I'd rather buy homemaking gadgets and hire staff, no matter the cost, than have to do chores myself. I told my boyfriend's mum all this, and it caused an argument that eventually ruined dinner and, in extension, our visit. Boyfriend doesn't care whether I'm a working wife or a stay-at-home mum, but he thinks I should have just done the test because it's just a test. And it's not like they would reject me if I failed. He thinks it's a fun tradition that everyone was looking forward to, and I should have gone along with it anyways. My boyfriend thinks I'm an arsehole and suggested I make this post. If I really am the arsehole, I'm sure you guys will let me know. So, am I? Edit. Add in this as it's been coming up. I know disclosing the country may or not bring up some unwanted arguments that will violate the rules here, but just for context, it's a family tradition, not a national culture. Oh, hell no, to the no, no, no. Gee whiz. I couldn't imagine sitting there with my family and say, hypothetical girlfriend is being put through tests in front of me about her cleaning and her homemaking and stuff like that. Holy no. And obviously there's been a discussion about this without OP being involved in any part of it, like behind her back. I couldn't help but laugh to myself at the end when your boyfriend thinks that you're the a-hole and suggested you make this post. Well, holy shit, that's backfired. Miss Trixie says he thinks it's a fun tradition, then says he thinks it's a fun tradition for women marrying into the family to be judged on their skills in traditional, old-fashioned, gender-conforming roles. Fine, let him take a test. He can rotate the tires, change the oil, and maybe rework the transmission on a car. Install a new muffler while he's at it. Then he can perform a series of tests of lifting heavy objects. How are his plumbing skills? He's going to need to know how to fix a leaky faucet. Your father and brothers and male friends can judge him on his manliness and decide if he is prepared to be a proper husband. You might also need to prove he makes enough money to support you for when you have to stay at home and perform all those wifely duties. What an obnoxious family. Not the a-hole. Lethargic action hero says not the a-hole. It sounds demeaning and patronizing as hell. If your boyfriend thinks you're good enough for him, you shouldn't have to prove yourself to anyone else. Old Possum replies to that and says, they put you in such a shitty position. Refuse and be bad for not participating in their shitty tradition, so they can hold it over your head for years to come. Accept and probably not do well because you weren't raised in their culture and value your career over a stay-at-home wife skills and have them hold over your head for years. What a power move. I think you made the right choice and definitely not the a-hole, but be prepared for this to stick around. Grand45 says, honestly, as a pretty traditional guy myself, I'd feel awkward having my girlfriend go through such tests. These are really non-essential traits, especially considering I prefer to cook for myself. On top of that, it's me who decides whether someone's good enough partner for me. I don't need permission from anyone else. Not the a-hole. High on Coffee says, not the a-hole. This isn't just some fun test. This shows you everything about their views that you need to know. Just a gentle warning. My ex-husband came from a traditional family like that. We talked about me not quitting my job and him helping with the kids, chores, etc. Before we got married, he always assured me that he doesn't want a relationship/family life like everyone in his family has. That he wants to be more modern. Well, it was all BS. After the wedding, he wanted me to be a stay-at-home wife, keep the house tidy and spend all day cooking meals for him. He just grew up with this kind of life being normal, and ultimately, it was what he wanted too. We got a divorce over this. Take care. And one more from Archon who says, not the a-hole. That's a really awful stereotype that they want you to play into. It doesn't matter if it's a fun tradition for them. It's not fun for you. And that's what matters here. How about you test them on their skills related to your job? Tell them you want to make sure they're good enough to be your in-laws. I'd love to be a fly on the wall if OP was to say that, but I don't think it would go down well. So OP does update the post and says, several things have happened since my last post and I received requests for an update, so here it is. This will be my only update. I got a lot of insight from the votes and comments in my original post and I would like to thank you all for that. I showed my boyfriend the responses and judgment on the original post. Most of you felt I was not the a-hole, and like you would guess, he was upset by this judgment. He tried to make his own post but was the arseholed so badly he deleted it in less than an hour. Anyway, I talked to my family and told them about the test. Yesterday they called us home for dinner and told him they would let me take his family's test if he let my dad and male cousins put him through a similar test. He blew up about how ridiculous it is because it's a family tradition for his family, but for mine it's something we came up with at random. He ended up saying it's okay if I don't do the test, but my parents and I were being childish. He let slip mid-argument that his youngest sister-in-law didn't want to do the test either, but look at her, the perfect wife. He said a lot of things, but long story short, he is still supportive of whatever I want to do with my life after marriage, but his family will never think the same way. However, I was starting to see a pattern, so I asked to take a break. It was great while it lasted. It's not fun or a cute update, but there you go. Time for me to binge watch heartbreaking movies with a giant tub of ice cream. Once again, thank you for your comments and judgment. And I've got to say, I think a break is the right thing to be doing in this situation. The fact that he's not standing back and thinking, yeah, this tradition is absolutely bullshit. I've been told by multiple people, he asked you to post this on Am I the Arsehole? He's getting told he's the arsehole and still not listening to it. And I just can't see his views changing anytime soon. But What do you guys make of this one? Do you think OP made the right choice? Was there ever any way around this? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, support, and time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so, so much. And hopefully we'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.
Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon. Let's go, see the sun shining from the windows. Okay, I know that today'll be a good day. Okay, I know that today'll be a good day. A, B, C,